Hi guys, UK Guns here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about pistols in the UK, aka handguns, and the question that I sometimes get, which is, are they banned in the UK? Well, as with many things regarding UK firearms legislation, it's not quite so simple. The short answer to are pistols banned in the UK is yes. The slightly longer answer is yes, but with exceptions. And there are some examples like this, which I'll talk about in a moment, but there are other things as well, some stuff that I don't have here with me because they're quite niche, but I'll talk about them and I'll throw in some pictures of them as well. So I'll start off with handguns in general are banned and why that is. So there was an incident back in the UK back in the 90s that involved a handgun, and as a result, in 96, all handguns in the UK were banned. But of course, the handguns were defined in law, so their definition was what is banned, and the definition given was that they were less than 24 inches overall length and less than a 12-inch barrel. So that meant that anything kind of outside of that wasn't banned, which is why things like this exist. This is a long-barreled pistol. This is a 22 LR semi-automatic pistol, but you can get 9mm revolvers or 357 revolvers, those kinds of things. But they will have similar furniture on them, which is like some sort of rod, usually here, like this at the back. And this is not a suppressor or a moderator. This is actually a barrel shroud that just covers a long barrel. That's why it's called a long barreled pistol, because what this does, it means it's a 12-inch barrel and it's a 24-inch overall length. So that means it's conforms with UK law. Now, of course, there are huge drawbacks to that. For one, it's very ugly, it's cumbersome, it's not very easy to kind of hold and use, but it's as close to kind of the pre-banned pistols as you're going to get for just plinking and that kind of shooting. If you just want to go to the range and shoot something like this, this is really as close as you're going to get. Now, there are some other exceptions. So, for instance, muzzle loading revolvers. So most people, when you think of muzzle loading revolvers, you're thinking of this kind of old Colts, you know, where you put the ball bearing down the barrel, that kind of thing. And whilst that is certainly a big part of it, there are some more modern revolvers. So for instance, the Alpha, I'll put a picture of that in here. That is, by all intents and purposes, a modern 357 revolver that's been modified to be conformant with UK law. And actually, rather than loading from the muzzle, as the name would suggest, you actually load the cylinder. So the cylinder is loaded with powder and a percussion cap, and then either a ball bearing or, I believe, and don't quote me on this in case I'm wrong, because I don't own one, but I'm fairly certain you can also use standard 357 bullets. Just the bullet, obviously not the casing and stuff, because it's muzzle loading, so it's powder, but you can use the actual bullet itself. You can fire that through them with the powder and the percussion cap. So for all intents and purposes, they're very similar to a regular 357 revolver, just with a few extra steps to load it. But obviously you can have multiple cylinders. You can load up a couple of cylinders if you're going plinking and use those on the range. So that's another one that you can own. There is also, you can get pistols for humane dispatch, but that's very niche. You're not using that for target shooting or for plinking or any of those kinds of things. It's just if you're a hunter who hunts large game, or let's say you're a vet and you may need to put down large animals during the course of your job, you're going to need a pistol to do that. You're not going to do that with a high-powered rifle because you're doing it up close. So a pistol is what is necessary. But those are restricted to 2 shots in the UK. So let's say, for instance, it could be a 357 revolver. It's a standard 357 revolver, not a muzzle loader. It takes regular 357 bullets, but it will be restricted to 2 shots. So let's say it's a 6-shot. It will have 4 of the cylinders sealed and just 2 left unsealed to use, because the thinking is that should be all you need to put down a large animal. Or if you're a hunter, like I say, you hunt deer, you get up to the deer and it's still alive, that's another thing you can use them for. So that's humane dispatch pistols, but they can only be used for humane dispatch. You can't shoot them on a range, you can't, you know, target shoot with them or anything along those lines. They are only used for humane dispatch, but they can be standard size, standard handguns, completely normal, just the only thing changed is obviously their capacity is restricted to 2 rounds. And I believe that does also cover like semi-automatic pistols, magazine fed, like a Colt 1911, for instance. As long as the magazine is restricted to 2 rounds, you could technically have that as well. Although I think it's much more common to have revolvers for humane dispatch. So really, for target shooting, it's either long barrel pistol or long barreled revolver. It's kind of the same thing, but it would be like 9mm or 357 or even 44 Magnum, those kinds of things, or muzzle loading. And I'll put a picture of some other muzzle loading pistols in here, and also of some long barreled revolvers, because they're quite interesting. There is the quite famous I think it's called the Rhino. Don't quote me on that. I'll find it on Google and I'll put a picture of it up here. But it's got the barrel that sits lower than most barrels. It goes to the bottom of the cylinder rather than the top. You can buy those in the UK, obviously with the rod and the longer barrel. I'll put a picture of it up on here so you can see that as well. So just a brief video really about a question I get quite often, which is about handguns in the UK. Are they banned? Yes, essentially, for the most part they are. But there are a few things you can own which may not be ideal, and I'm sure there will be some Americans and other nationalities looking at this screaming, but this is as good as it gets if you want to do some pistol shooting in the UK, or like I say, muzzle loading revolvers if that's what you're into as well. It's just a few extra steps, but that's a skill in and of itself as well. So hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.